audience engagement, I think, can look like all different things. In some cases, and I think the way that more legacy media think about engagement is we do the reporting, we do the story, we put it out, and then we're going to engage online, or we're going to try to push it out to particular audiences. And so that's where a lot of organizations start, and kind of the step one in engagement. I think more and more now we're seeing news organizations think about how can we actually engage with our audiences before we go out and do the reporting and sourcing and creating the information, so that we make sure that it's responding to audience needs. So there's a platform called Hearken, for example, that's a plugin on your site, and you can actually engage with your audience, and they can, through the digital space, send you their questions, or they can vote on kind of how important they think different questions are, and you can be responsive in that way. And that's been used pretty widely in the US and in Europe, and it's moving into other markets now as well. And you see other people doing that kind of more informally. I think there's some really interesting examples of organizations using SMS text messaging or WhatsApp to engage directly with audiences. In the context of the African continent, there are quite a few news organizations experimenting with WhatsApp groups. Premium Times, Le Monde Afrique based in France, but doing work in Africa as well. And I think that's a really interesting idea when you don't have necessarily really strong institutions in the context of like legacy media, thinking about how do you go directly to audiences and how do you kind of meet them where they are. So places like WhatsApp, instead of expecting that they're going to come to your website or purchase your paper. There are other interesting examples of arts-based engagement, so news organizations that will take a big investigative story that's really complex, that maybe is relevant to a community that doesn't historically access this particular news source, and so thinking creatively about how can we use community theater as a way to actually bring the story into community and get people involved. And so it becomes much less of from the news organization to the consumer, to the audience, and instead it becomes this kind of co-creation of information.